The dust storm was not strong, but it covered everything. Broken buildings stood like skeletons in the pale red light. The sky was dark with clouds, but this was normal on Talara, the alien world where the war had ended only 5 years ago. Rami, a human engineer, stepped out of the shuttle holding his helmet. He was not a soldier. He had never fired a gun. He came to help rebuild. His job was to fix power systems, clean water machines, and old transport lines that had been buried for years. Around him, a few Tellarans stood watching. Their teal-blue skin, tall bodies, and long, smooth hair made them look calm but distant. None of them smiled. One woman stood in front of the others. Her eyes were sharp, and she stood straight like a soldier. Her name was Naya. She had a strong jaw, narrow eyes, and carried no weapon, but she did not need one. Her stare alone made others lower their heads. She stepped forward. "You are the human they sent?" Rami nodded. "Yes, Rami. I don't care what you fix," she cut him off. "Follow me." He blinked but said nothing. He picked up his small bag and followed her through the ruins. She walked fast. Her long cloak moved behind her like smoke. They passed broken towers, cracked stone roads, and the rusted remains of alien machines. Rami saw children peeking from behind walls. Their eyes were wide. He smiled at one of them, but the child ran away. "Don't smile like that," Naya said without turning. "They fear you?" "Me?" "All humans." Rami didn't answer. He just walked behind her, trying not to step on anything sharp. They reached a low, half-buried building. It looked like a bunker. Metal and stone were mixed together and vines grew over the sides. She stopped at the door. "You will work here with me," she said. "We need power restored in the lower levels. You will not touch anything without asking. You will not speak unless necessary." "All right," he said softly. She looked at him, her eyes scanning his face. "I'm not like your women," she said sharply. "I didn't say you were," he replied. She narrowed her eyes again. "But you're already staring." Rami looked away, a bit embarrassed. "Sorry." But it wasn't just her beauty he noticed. It was something else. A kind of quiet pain in her face. Something deep. She looked proud but tired, like she had seen too much and didn't want to talk about it. Inside the bunker, it was cold and dark. Rami turned on his torch. Dust floated in the air like snow. They walked through narrow halls. Naya stopped near a control panel. "This ran the water purifier. Can you fix it?" Rami kneeled and opened the back of the panel. Wires were cut. Some had melted. "I'll need parts," he said. "Basic ones. I can make a few replacements myself." "You'll get them," she replied. "But no wasting time." She stood over him as he worked. Hours passed. She didn't sit, didn't talk, didn't move much, like a statue. Once she walked off to another part of the building and brought back a box of parts. She handed them to him without a word. When the light finally blinked green on the panel, Rami sat back. "It's working." "Good," she said, and turned away. As they walked back outside, the sun was setting. The sky turned purple and gold. Rami wiped his hands on his pants. "You don't talk much," he said. "I talk when I need to." "Did you fight in the war?" She stopped walking. "Everyone fought." He stayed quiet. She looked at him again. "You didn't." "No," he said. "I was in school." "Then you don't know what happened here." He looked around at the broken city. I see what it left behind. She seemed to think about that for a moment. Then she said, Come early tomorrow. The underground doors are jammed. We need to reach the fusion core room. He nodded. As she turned to leave, he called out, Thank you for trusting me. She stopped. I don't trust you. Then she walked away into the shadows. Rami stood there alone as the wind picked up again. He didn't understand her yet, but he wanted to. Not just because she was beautiful, but because she looked like someone carrying too much weight alone. The next morning, Rami arrived early, just as the light touched the broken towers of Talara. The air was cold, and the wind carried the smell of metal and dust. He wore a light jacket and carried his toolkit. His boots crunched softly on the cracked ground as he walked to the old bunker. Naya was already waiting. She stood near the entrance with her arms crossed, her long cloak moving slightly in the breeze. Her eyes were sharp as ever. You're early, she said. You said to come early, Rami replied. She gave a small nod. Good. They went inside. The air grew colder as they walked deeper into the old structure. The walls were marked with strange symbols and warning lights. Rami noticed some of the signs were written in both Teleron and Earth language, reminders of past peace missions before the war. At the lower level, a thick metal door stood closed. It had been damaged badly, probably during the fighting. Naya tried pressing a side button, but nothing happened. She stepped back. Your turn, she said. Rami examined the control panel beside the door. It was cracked, but some wires still had power. He took out his tools and began working. Naya didn't speak. She stood beside him silently, watching the hallway. After an hour of fixing and bypassing wires, the door gave a loud click. Slowly, it slid open, revealing a dark tunnel beyond. Well done, Naya said softly. Rami smiled a little but didn't say anything. They entered the tunnel. Lights flickered above them. The floor sloped downward. As they moved, the temperature dropped more. Rami rubbed his arms. It's freezing down here, he muttered. There's no heat left, Naya said. The power lines were cut. We need to reach the fusion core to restart everything. As they walked, the tunnel turned into a larger chamber. Machines lined the walls, huge and silent like sleeping giants. Pipes leaked steam from cracks. The ground trembled slightly beneath their feet. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed. The ceiling above them shifted. Without warning, a part of the roof collapsed. Look out! Naya shouted, pulling Rami back. Rocks and metal fell where he had just stood. Dust filled the air. Rami coughed and blinked. His shoulder hurt, but he was okay. Naya stood close, her hand still gripping his arm tightly. You could have been crushed, she said. So could you, he replied. She let go and stepped back, brushing dust from her cloak. I'm trained for this, she said. You're not. He didn't argue. She moved forward, checking the damage. The way ahead was blocked now. We'll have to stay here until the dust settles, she said. Rami looked around. There was a side room, a small maintenance chamber with a working door. He opened it and peeked inside. It was dark but clean. Let's wait in here, he suggested. She nodded, and they both went in. Rami used his portable light to brighten the space. There were old crates, a broken chair, and a small spot with metal walls to block the cold wind. Naya sat down on the floor, silent and still. Rami pulled out a small heating unit and placed it in the center. It gave off a soft orange light. The room warmed a little. Rami sat across from her. The silence stretched between them. After a while, he took out a small food bar and offered her half. She shook her head. "I don't eat human food," he smiled. "It's not just for humans. It's made for all species." She looked at it, then took it slowly. "Fine." They ate quietly. After a few minutes, Rami spoke. "You saved me back there. Thank you." Naya looked at him. "I didn't do it for you. We need you to finish the power work." "Still," he said, "you didn't have to pull me back." She said nothing. Then he added, "You're strong. I've seen soldiers before, but you don't walk like them. You walk like someone who carries weight." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You know nothing about me." "You're right. I don't." She looked at the heater, its soft light glowing between them. "My brother was like you," she said at last. "He used to fix things. He said machines were easier than people. They always told the truth when broken." "What happened to him?" "He died in the war. Shot while helping humans." Rami lowered his eyes. "I'm sorry." She nodded once. "He believed in peace. He thought we could live together, humans and Tellarans. He was wrong." "Maybe he wasn't," Rami said quietly. "Maybe it just takes more time." She didn't reply. The firelight reflected in her eyes. Her face looked softer now, less guarded. "You keep looking at me," she said. Rami didn't look away. "You remind me of someone I knew back home. She wasn't like the others either. She spoke her mind, stood alone when needed, and never smiled unless she meant it." Naya raised an eyebrow. "And you stared at her too?" Rami chuckled. "I tried not to, but yes." Naya gave a small, breathy laugh, barely a sound. It was the first time he heard anything close to a laugh from her. "You humans always think staring means something." "Sometimes it does," Rami replied. They sat in silence again. The heater hummed quietly. Outside the room, the tunnel groaned, softly under the weight above. "We'll move again once the dust settles," she said. "All right. But don't get comfortable," she added. "This doesn't mean I trust you." "I know," Rami said. "But maybe it means you're starting, too." She looked at him for a long time. Then, without a word, she turned her gaze back to the fire. The tunnel had grown quiet again. Dust still hung in the air, but the ground had stopped shaking. Rami and Naya stepped out of the small chamber where they had taken shelter. The light from Rami's torch cut through the dark hallway ahead. They walked slowly over broken tiles and metal pipes. Their boots made soft, hollow sounds. "We're close to the fusion room," Naya said. "Good," Rami replied. "Once we restore power here, most of this zone will come back online." Naya gave a short nod but didn't say more. For the next hour, they worked in silence. Rami fixed broken wires and checked old screens. Naya stood guard, keeping her sharp eyes on every shadow. She seemed restless, as if expecting an enemy to appear from the darkness. At last, Rami found the fusion control panel. It was damaged but still had life. He knelt down and opened the back cover. "Wires here are fried," he said. "I can bypass them with my own kit, but it'll take time." "How long?" "An hour, maybe 2. Naya stepped back and leaned against the wall. "Then do it." As Rami worked, he glanced at her from time to time. Her arms were crossed. Her eyes were distant. "You've seen a lot, haven't you?" he asked softly. She looked at him. What do you mean? You stand. Like a soldier, but also like someone tired of fighting. Naya didn't answer right away. Then she said, War changes people. You either grow stronger or you break. He nodded. My uncle fought in the Earth-Mars conflict. He never spoke after that. Not a word. Just silence. Naya looked down. Her voice grew quieter. My mother stopped talking too. After my brother died. You said he helped humans? Yes. He was sent to your side as part of a peace team. Someone gave wrong orders. Shots were fired. He died before the real message came through. I'm sorry. She looked at the control room's dark ceiling. He believed in your kind more than I ever did. He said humans were just lost, not evil, just confused. Rami kept working. He didn't know what to say. After a while, he said, maybe he was right. Maybe some of us are still trying to find the right path. Naya turned away. Words are easy. I know. Later, when power hummed back to life and the control lights turned green, Rami let out a breath of relief. It's done. She checked the readings. You did well. Thanks. They walked back up the tunnel, past the collapsed ceiling, and into the main level of the bunker. Lights above flickered on one by one. Outside, the sky had grown dark again. Stars blinked in the night, and the cold wind whispered through the ruins. They found a small camp set up near a wall, left by a past team. There were a few supply boxes, a low bench, and some firestones used for heat. Naya started the fire with practiced hands. Rami sat across from her, warming his fingers. Your hands are shaking, she said. It's cold, he replied with a grin. She didn't smile, but her face relaxed a little. Tell me something, she said. Anything. Why did you volunteer to come here? He thought for a moment. I like fixing broken things, machines, systems, even ideas. She tilted her head. You came to fix ideas? He chuckled. Sounds silly, I know. But maybe if I do good work, someone like you might believe not all humans are bad. Her eyes softened. You're not what I expected, she admitted. Same, he said. You're not what I thought, either. She raised an eyebrow. What did you expect, a monster? No, he said, just someone cold and angry, but you're not cold. You're guarding something. She grew silent again. He looked up at the stars. Want to hear a story? It's from Earth. She didn't answer, but she didn't say no either. There was a woman in a village, Rami began, strong and alone. She never laughed. People feared her. But one day, a child got lost in the woods. Everyone was scared, but she went in and brought the child back. When the village asked why she risked her life, she just said, because no one else would. After that, they saw her differently. She still didn't smile often, but when she did, it meant something. Naya was quiet. Then she said, Your people like simple stories? Maybe, but simple stories can show deep truth. She looked at him across the fire. Her voice was softer now. My brother told me stories, too. He made up worlds in his head. He said dreaming helped him stay kind. I think he and I would have been friends. She gave a very faint smile, not with her mouth, but with her eyes. He would have liked you, she said. They sat in silence again, but it was a peaceful silence this time. Then Naya spoke again. When I said I'm not like your women, I meant it. My people don't smile to please. We don't soften our voices. We speak with strength. I noticed, Rami said, smiling. But I'm still a person. I still feel just differently. I understand, he said. And I don't expect you to change. Naya looked into the fire. I don't know why I'm talking to you like this. Maybe because I'm listening. She looked at him for a long time. Then she turned back to the fire. For the first time, the space between them didn't feel heavy. It felt warm. The next morning, the wind was calm. Pale light touched the broken rooftops of Talara. Rami stood near the campfire, sipping warm water from a metal cup. He felt the air on his skin, cold but peaceful. For the first time since landing, the place didn't feel so distant. Naya came from behind the bunker, walking with her usual silent steps. She didn't wear her heavy cloak today. Her long hair moved slightly in the breeze. Her eyes met Rami's for a moment, then moved to the ground. There's another place we need to check, she said. Not far from here. What kind of place? An archive, she said. Old Teleran Technology Center. The elders want to see if anything still works. Rami nodded. All right, lead the way. They walked through the ruins, stepping over cracked stone and glass. Birds flew above them, silent and strange, their wings black against the silver sky. The archive was hidden beneath a collapsed building. Its entrance was buried under sand and rubble. Together they cleared the rocks. Rami used a handheld scanner to check the door. It's sealed, he said, but not broken. The power inside might still be active. Then open it, Naya said. He worked slowly, careful not to break the old lock system. Finally, with a soft click, the door opened. A cool breeze moved out from the dark hallway ahead. They entered together. Lights flickered as they stepped in. Dust covered everything. Tables, machines, data screens. It was quiet, like a place forgotten by time. Naya moved ahead, her eyes scanning the walls. She stopped at a round terminal near the center of the hull. Room. This was a memory station, she said. My brother used to come here. Rami looked around. What kind of memories? Messages, personal videos, records of our people. She touched the screen. It blinked once, then glowed softly. Still working, she said. Try to access the last entries. Rami connected a small interface from his tool belt. I can translate and copy them. Might take a few minutes. As he worked, Naya walked around the room, her fingers brushing old chairs and shelves. Her face was hard to read, but her steps were slow, almost like walking through a dream. Found something, Rami said. She came back to the terminal. A screen lit up, and a video began to play. A young Teleran man appeared. His skin was a lighter shade of blue than Naya's, and his eyes were kind. He smiled softly as he looked into the screen. Rami stepped back. Naya didn't move. Date, the man said in a quiet voice. 1 day before the mission to Sector 12. I want to leave this message in case I don't return. Not because I'm afraid, but because I have hope. Naya took in a sharp breath. My name is Cairo, the man said. I believe we can trust them. The humans, not all of them, but some. Enough to build something new. I've seen it. I've spoken to them. They're not so different from us. He smiled again. I hope one day my sister watches this. Naya, if you're seeing this, it means I didn't make it, But please, don't let your heart turn to stone. Don't carry my anger. Carry my dream. The screen went dark. Silence filled the room. Rami stood still, not sure what to say. Naya didn't speak. Her hands were tight fists at her sides. She turned away from the screen and walked to the far wall. She stood there facing the stone, her back stiff. "I didn't know this was here," she whispered. "He was brave," Rami said gently. "He was foolish," she snapped, but her voice broke. "He trusted them, and he died." "He trusted." "With open eyes," Rami said. "That's not foolish." She turned around, her eyes wet but not crying. "Do you know what it's like? To lose someone and have no answers? To hear they were shot by people they believed in?" "No," Rami said honestly. "But I know what it's like to live with questions. My father disappeared during a mission. No body, no message, just silence." Naya sat down slowly on the stone bench near the screen. "I hated your kind," she said. "I told myself every human was a liar, a killer. But now," she looked at Rami, "you confuse me." He sat beside her, not too close. "I'm not here to change your mind," he said, "just here to help, to listen, to be honest." She nodded slightly. "That's more than most have given me." For a moment, they just sat in the still room, the screen above them dark, the weight of memory heavy around them. Then Rami stood. "We should copy this file. Maybe others should see it too." "No," Naya said quickly. "Not yet. This is mine." He respected her words. He didn't touch the screen again. They walked back slowly toward the exit. The sun outside was brighter, now. The wind had stopped. As they stepped out into the open, Naya looked up at the sky. "You know," she said, "he once told me stars don't care about war. They just keep burning." "Maybe that's why people look at them," Rami said. "To remember something bigger." She looked at him. "You listen too much," he smiled. "And you talk more than you think." She gave a short laugh. "A real one this time. Not loud, but true." "I'll take that as a warning," he joked. "No," she said, shaking her head. "Take it as a sign. You're not like the others." He didn't answer. He just walked beside her, his steps quiet and steady. For the first time, their silence felt shared. The sun had disappeared behind heavy clouds. The air turned colder, and the sky above Talara turned a strange green-gray color. The wind was no longer soft. It had a whistle now. A warning. Rami looked up. He had never seen a sky like that before. "What is this?" he asked. Naya stopped walking and stared at the horizon. Her face became serious. "A plasma storm," she said. "A strong one. We need to find cover. Now." They were walking through a broken trade district, far from the main shelters. Most buildings were damaged or unsafe. Rami looked around, worried. "Where do we go?" "There," she pointed. "An old supply vault, under the ground. If it's still standing, it will hold." They ran together. The wind pushed against them like a wave. Sand and ash flew through the air. Lights above flickered, and the temperature dropped fast. They reached the vault. The entrance was half buried under debris. Naya used her hands to pull rocks away. Rami joined her, working fast. The wind howled behind them like a voice full of pain. Finally, they got the door open. It creaked and groaned as they stepped inside. Darkness. Cold air. But silence. Rami fell to his knees, breathing hard. That storm came fast. Naya shut the door behind them. That's how plasma storms are. They give no time. Rami stood and turned on his small light. The room was small, made of thick metal and stone. It had once held food and equipment, but now it was empty except for old crates and a broken chair. "We'll wait here," Naya said. "Could be hours, maybe all night." Rami nodded and sat down. He rubbed his shoulder. It hurt from when he had lifted the large rock outside. "You're injured," she said, noticing his movement. "It's fine, just a bruise." She walked over and knelt beside him. She pulled a small silver device from her belt and pressed it gently against his shoulder. A soft heat moved through his jacket. "Basic healer," she said. "It helps the muscle relax." "Thank you," he said, surprised. She didn't reply. She stood up and sat across from him. Outside, the wind screamed. It sounded like a living thing, angry and wild. The walls shook slightly, but the shelter held. Rami pulled out a small heater and turned it on. It gave off a warm orange glow. He placed it between them. Naya stared into the light. Her face was calm, but her eyes were far away. "This storm reminds me of the one we had during the war," she said suddenly. "I was in a trench. The ground shook for hours. My team had no food, no light, and only one comm link. What happened?" "We waited," she said, "and listened to each other breathe. No one spoke. We were too afraid." Rami stayed quiet. He knew some stories didn't need replies. Then she added, "But one soldier sang, very soft, a song about home. I didn't know the words, but I remember the sound." She closed her eyes for a second. It made the dark feel less empty. Rami looked at her with respect. "Do you still remember the sound?" She opened her eyes. "A little, but I don't sing." "I wouldn't ask you to," he said gently. "But thank you for sharing," she nodded. "You're always thanking me. Because you always do things worth thanking." She looked at him carefully. "You say kind things, but they're not fake. That's rare." "I don't know how to lie well," he said with a small smile. She didn't smile back this time, but her voice was softer. "You see people? Don't. You? Not just faces." He thought for a moment. "I try." Outside, the storm hit harder. Dust pounded the walls. The light in the heater flickered once, but stayed on. They sat in silence again, listening. Then Rami broke it. "Do you ever think of leaving Talara?" She looked surprised. "Why would I?" "No reason. Just wondering. There are worlds out there. Some peaceful. Some waiting to be built again." She thought about it. "My roots are deep here. My family lived on this land. Even the trees remember them. If I leave, who keeps the memory?" "You," he said. "You carry it. Wherever you go." She looked into the firelight. "I don't know if I'm strong enough for that." "I think you are," he said softly. For the first time, she didn't look away. Their eyes held for a long moment. The wind outside faded a little, and the silence between them grew warmer, like the small flame between their feet. Then suddenly, crash. Loud sound hit the wall. The ceiling shook. A piece of stone broke off and struck Rami on the side. He fell back with a cry. Naya rushed forward. "Rami!" He was breathing, but blood came from a cut near his hairline. "I'm okay," he whispered. "Just a little dizzy." She pressed a cloth to his head. Her voice was tight. "Don't move. I've had worse, he joked. But his voice was weak. You're always trying to act strong, she said. It's foolish. He looked up at her. You do the same. She froze, then gave a tiny smile. You're right. She stayed beside him as the storm roared again. Her hand rested on his arm, not cold, not distant, just steady. Why do you care so much? She asked suddenly. Why do you look at me like that? Because I see someone who doesn't want to be alone, he answered, his voice quiet. Even if she pretends to. Her hand stayed on his arm. She didn't speak. They stayed like that for a long time, two people in a dark, broken world, warmed by one small fire and something unspoken between them. The storm passed slowly, like a beast crawling across the land. By morning, only silence remained. The air was heavy with dust, and the sky above Talara was pale and still. Inside the small shelter, Rami woke up with a dull ache in his head. His shoulder was stiff, and the cloth around his forehead was stained with dried blood. But he was alive. He opened his eyes and saw Naya sitting nearby, watching him. Her cloak covered his legs. Her back was straight, but her face looked tired. You're awake, she said. He smiled weakly. Either I'm alive, or this is a very kind dream. She shook her head. Still joking. That's a good sign. He sat up slowly. How long was I out? A few hours. Your body needed rest. He touched the cloth on his head. You stayed with me? I wasn't going to leave you here alone, she said simply. Thank you. She stood and walked to the door. She pushed it open slightly. Light poured in through the dust. It's safe now. The storm is gone. Rami got to his feet with care. His legs were shaky, but he could walk. Naya stayed close, just in case. They stepped outside together. The world looked different, softer, quieter. The storm had wiped the skies clean. The broken streets were covered in a fresh layer of sand. They walked in silence for a while, heading back toward the main outpost. The wind was gentle now. Teleran children peeked from behind walls again, curious and shy. As they passed a narrow street, an old Teleran man with silver hair stepped out and greeted Naya. I heard you were caught. In the storm, he said. We found shelter, Naya replied. His eyes moved to Rami. The human? He helped restore the fusion core, she said, and he survived a falling stone. The old man looked at Rami with thoughtful eyes. Stronger than he looks, Naya nodded. Stronger than most think. The man gave her a small smile. Be careful, Naya. His kind brings change. She paused, then said calmly, So do I. They walked on. Back at the bunker, Rami checked the systems. The fusion power was still stable. Water lines were working. Light was returning to parts. Of the city. Your work is good, Naya said, watching the control screens. Rami smiled. That almost sounds like praise. It is, she replied. They stepped outside and sat on a stone bench near the bunker's side wall. The sun was rising above the old towers. The city looked broken, but alive. Naya looked at him. You asked if I would ever leave Talara. I thought about that. And? I don't know. But I do know this. Something inside me has changed. Rami looked at her carefully. How? She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I used to see only walls when I looked at humans. Now, I see windows too, not all open. but they're there." He smiled. "That's a beautiful way to say it." She turned to face him fully. "You never tried to impress me. You never argued. You just stayed honest." "I didn't come here to be a hero," Rami said. "I came to fix what I could. I didn't expect to meet someone like you." She held his gaze. "I told you I'm not like your women," she said. "And I never expected you to be," he said. "But you looked at me like I was." "No," he replied softly. "I looked at you like someone who sees more than others, someone who doesn't hide behind words, someone real." She looked down for a moment, then back up. "You say things that stay in the mind." Rami smiled again, slower this time. "And you say things that stay in the heart." They both laughed lightly, quiet, natural. Far in the distance, a ship passed across the sky. It was a human cargo carrier moving supplies to another zone. Its lights blinked red and white as it flew over. Rami watched it for a moment. "I'll be called back soon," he said. "My assignment ends in 3 days." "I know," Naya said. He waited for her to say more. But she didn't. "Will you miss me?" he asked gently. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes were calm, but her voice was softer than before. "I'll miss the silence between us," she said. "The kind that doesn't feel empty." He nodded slowly. "I'll miss that too." They sat quietly, side by side, not touching, not rushing. Then Naya stood. "Come. The children are waiting to see the lights. You promised to repair the comma." Screen. "Right," Rami said, rising to his feet. "Can't break a promise." Later that day, Rami fixed a large display screen in the town square. It was old, full of rust, but after a few sparks and some wire twisting, it came to life. A soft blue light filled the area. Teleran children clapped and pointed. Even the elders smiled. Naya stood nearby, arms crossed, watching him work. But there was something new in her eyes, something open. A little girl with teal blue skin ran to her and whispered, "Is he your friend?" Naya looked at Rami, then nodded. "Yes," she said. "He is." Rami heard the words. He didn't turn, didn't speak, but a small smile formed on his face. That night, as stars filled the Teleran sky again, Rami and Naya stood on the edge of the ruins. "I still don't understand your kind," she said softly. He looked at her. "Maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe you just feel it." She didn't speak, but she reached out, slowly, carefully, and touched his hand. Just once. Then, let go. The night before his departure, Rami stood alone near the landing field. His ship back to Earth would arrive in the morning. The stars above Talara were sharp and quiet. This alien world, once full of fear, now felt strangely familiar. He looked down at the data pad in his hand. His report was ready, power restored, water system working, comm link stable. A clean mission, but his heart felt anything but clean. It was full of thoughts, mostly of her. Behind him, he heard footsteps. Soft, light, but sure. Naya. She walked up beside him without a word. For a long moment they just stood there. The wind touched their clothes gently. The silence between them was not empty. It was warm. "You leave tomorrow," she said. "Yes," he replied. "Do you want to leave?" He didn't answer right away. He looked at her, her calm face lit by the pale moonlight. She had no armor now, no cold wall between them. She looked softer, but still strong. "I thought I did," he said. "But now I don't know." Naya nodded slowly. "The old ones here say that hearts are like roots. They follow warmth, even through stone." "That sounds like something my mother would say," he smiled. She gave a quiet laugh. "Maybe all mothers know the same things." They both looked out at the horizon. In the distance, the human shuttle lights blinked near the mountains. Rami turned toward her. "I've never met anyone like you," he said gently. "Not just because you're from another world, but because you never hide. You speak like fire, but you care like water." She lowered her eyes for a moment, then looked back. "You asked once if I would ever leave Talara," she said. "Maybe now I ask you, can you leave it?" He took a deep breath. "If I stay, I lose my job. I lose my place on Earth, everything I built. But if you go, what do you lose?" He didn't answer, but his eyes gave the truth. He would lose her. The next morning, the shuttle came early. Rami stood beside his small bag. Soldiers and workers boarded ahead of him. No one paid him much attention. Naya was not there. He looked toward the east side of the ruins, where the wind towers turned slowly. That's where she often trained, but she hadn't come to say goodbye. He walked up the ramp. The pilot looked at him. "Last call." Rami stood still. Then he turned around. "I'm not going," he said. The pilot raised an eyebrow. "You serious?" "Yes." "You'll be dropped from the roster. No support. You sure this world's for you?" "I'm sure," Rami said, "because someone here is real, and I don't want to forget what that feels like." Back at the edge of the ruins, Naya stood near the wind towers, watching the shuttle rise into the sky. Her face was calm, but her eyes had a shadow in them. Then, a voice behind her. "Did I miss the fireworks?" She turned sharply. Rami stood there holding his bag in one hand, smiling. "You didn't go?" she asked. "No," he said. "I stayed. For many reasons." She looked at him carefully. "And one of them is me?" He nodded. "You're not like my women. You're not like anyone I've ever known. And I want to learn who you are, not just fix your machines." Naya said nothing, but the smallest smile touched her lips. "You will be tested here," she said. "By the land, by the people. I don't mind. I've already been tested by your silence. I survived that." She laughed, a full, honest laugh. "I can't promise you comfort," she said. "Only storms and hard roads. And I can't promise you perfection," Rami said. "Only effort and honesty." They stood together as the wind blew around them. "You'll need a place to sleep," Naya said finally. "Somewhere with a good roof," Rami said. "No roof on Talara is safe from storms," she replied. "Then maybe I'll build one," he said. She nodded. "You better. I'm not carrying you again." He smiled. Deal. Weeks passed. Rami stayed. He helped build a new water station. He taught some of the younger Tellarans how to repair solar panels. Slowly, the children stopped running away. Slowly, people began to nod when he passed. One day, the old Tellaran man with silver hair walked up to Rami in the square. "You didn't leave." "No," Rami said. "Couldn't." The man looked at him for a long time. "You're still strange, but less strange than before." "Thank you, I think." The man nodded. "Just remember, Roots take time, but they grow deep. That night, under the stars, Rami and Naya sat near the wind towers again. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. "Sometimes," he said, "but only the sky. Yours is better." She looked up. "Our stars are older. They've seen more stories." He turned to her. "Then maybe they'll see one more." She looked at him. "Maybe they already are. They didn't hold hands. They didn't make promises. They just sat close, their shoulders nearly touching, watching the stars. Two souls from different worlds. One quiet story under one quiet sky.